Hi, I'm Mr. Miyagi and this is Mr. Miyagi's Workshop. Well, today we're going to recover that seat pan that we restored here back a few videos back. I finally got my seat cover in and I finally got my foam in. So I'm going to have to cut and fit everything together. Now a couple items that you'll probably need is some way to cut the foam, and I ended up buying one of these electric knives, carving knives off of Amazon. I think it was like 14 bucks. And you're going to need some glue, and this multi-purpose 3M Super 77 works pretty good. And you'll need a marker and you'll need a tape measure. So the main thing is to get the foam all lined out, so how we want to cut it. Now I ordered some foam from the foam factory. Now, this is a high density, basically designed for motorcycle seats. I ended up having to get a fairly good sized roll of it. So that means I'll be able to refoam a lot of seats from now on, which occasionally I build custom chopper seats and such. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm not an upholsterer. And I'm sure that somebody's going to find something wrong with what I'm doing. Okay, I'll grant you that. What I am doing is I am just demonstrating on how I'm going to do it, not necessarily how you can do it. Okay? Now we've got that clear. So basically one of the things that you need to do is you need to kind of mark out the actual size of the seat itself, the seat frame. And as we're doing this, I'm just doing a lineage around it. And it's just a rough area here. Now this seat is dipped and everything, and I got a feeling that we're going to end up having to cut and maybe take out some of the area here. Now what I ended up doing, and I think this was enough where I could build, yeah. See, I cut this at 32 by, and it comes in a, what they called a 24, which is actually a 25-inch piece. And the foam itself is roughly 3 inches thick. That gives me a chance, if I need to, I can cut away areas underneath to make it fit a little better, so we have a smooth top on it. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to get the cutting tool out, and we will cut this surface out here and go from there. And it looks like if I mess up, oh yeah, I got another piece to fix. Now I've done this in the past before on some boat gear that I did. These little knives work pretty good. Now what I'm doing is I'm staying about 1/4 of an inch away from the line that I marked, just in case there was some discrepancy in the way I marked it. You see, that works pretty good. Let's get rid of that. So now we'll do the other side here. So you can see that you'll still have to carve and fit to make this fit in there a little better. What I'm going to end up having to do is I'm going to have to cut away some of this inside for where basically this would be the rear fender area, and so that it will fit down in there just a little better. Okay, we're going to spray a little bit of paint on here just to kind of get an idea what we need for a pattern. So you can see that it kind of laid out an area that I can kind of start to form and cut away. You don't want to go too deep on this because we're going to gradually get it down to size. So we got that piece out of there. See how much nicer that fits in there now? So you just got to kind of work these areas that you're doing it. And that's another reason why we kind of oversize this, so once it gets on, then we can cut and trim it. So these are little areas, if you want, you can cut out. We might be able to cut out just a little bit of this area here. That'll help get it down a little closer here. This one over here where the hinge point is, it helps set it down. Maybe trim up a little bit here. There's a nubble up here and a couple of them right here that we can trim out. So I'm going to do that right now and get it. You got the idea. I'm going to get this and start trimming up and see if I get this to fit better. Okay, you can see the process, what we did here of cutting this all out. There's still a little bit of trimming and stuff that you'll may have to do. You just have to focus on it. This knife isn't the best for getting in here to do some of these little tight areas, but it works pretty good. But the main idea here is just to get your pattern cut out. You can see what I've got, all these little, tried to match the area as much as possible. And then when we apply the glue, we're going to put weight on it and glue it in place and let it sit. And then we'll come back and trim it. Now, one thing that I did do is, before I spray this, I did go along and fit this and mark the areas, mark the spot here and on the front. So when I lay this down, that I'm not fighting it, I'm centered, everything is where it's supposed to be. Because with the contact cement, it doesn't give you a big chance to change. Usually, is where you stick it down is where it's staying. So be aware of that. Now we're going to let this sit for a little bit so the glue will tack off. All right, so I let this tack up so it's kind of sticky. Now the trick is to get this all lined up. So if you have reference marks, you just want to play with it. You don't want to push hard down on it. And you want to make sure that you're laying it pretty well close to where you need it. And then it's just let that push down on there and let that glue take effect. So now I'm just going to do a quick lay this on there and see how everything is going about and where I may have to trim. So this area up in here will have to be trimmed. This back is going to have to be pulled a little bit. And I'm angling it in just slightly, just to give it a little bit of form, so everything will form together nicely. So you're going to have to play with this a little bit. It's not too difficult, but just to make everything fit. Now in this area right here, it looks like I cut out too much on the back side, so it tends to push down. But hey, look at that. I have a patch. So you can come back and put in a patch. We'll wait for that to set up a little bit. On this actually comes with a bit of foam on the inside, so if there's any roughness or weird stuff like this, it'll just smooth it out. There. And if there's any other soft spots where you've dug, you can do that too. All right, so now let's fit the top on, the cover. Just see how we're looking here, where we may have to trim or fit other places. Really don't think that that's too bad. Now I'm going to put a different cover on the table because I don't want to mess up our new cover. I'm just going to do a light spraying of the glue on there. We're going to let this set up a little bit, and then when we lay this back on, now I've got the front still kind of hooked on here, and we're just going to lay it back on there, and then we'll fit the cover on. And you just kind of want to square it up on your foam. So with this style, this has these little hooks that you pull this material around on. And hook it in. And then those will be bent over later. So we're just pushing this around. And it takes a little bit of work to do this. This is not hard, but it's not simple either. Well, it's on there in place, and tap these little tips down. I know some of you guys out there that are upholsterers will probably go, "Oh God, you did that wrong." Well, guess what? I don't care. This bike's going to be going off-road and everything anyway, so it's going to get roughed up. But, you know, for repairing and saving an old seat, I think it turned out pretty good. And that's just the way it is. Now, I still have to put this trim piece on. Okay, I ended up finding some small clips, push clips, to work on these, And I also discovered that if you run out of these, if you can't find any of these trim studs, what you can do is you can cut down a roofing nail, cut it off, and then find some push clips that will fit this and use those instead. Although I did have to put a small flat washer on there just to make it a little bit bigger to fit in the groove on this, but hey, there it is. One XS650 seats. Got the hinges on. Let's see if it fits. Okay, there we go. Everything's on there. It's a little wrinkled through here, but after a while, I probably could have, on the frame itself, padded that out a little more. That's up to you. Like I said, this bike's going to be doing a little bit more off-road, but I could use the same old clips and everything to lock it down. Good and solid. Probably a pretty comfortable seat. I don't think it turned out too bad. Now be kind to me, people. I am not an upholsterer. Alrighty then. Well, got the strip and everything on. This seat's all mounted and I sat on it. It's pretty darn comfortable. A couple things I probably should have done. Probably should have heated up the seat cover in the sun or with a heat gun, but we didn't have any sun today because it was raining. This is Washington State, and my heat gun is kind of on the blink, but I got it stretched out pretty good. Yeah, there's a couple little wrinkles in it, but hey, we're using this bike for kind of off-road stuff and just running around. So now I need to get it out on the road and do some break-in on that motor because as you saw when we did this first time, as we put the motor in there, it was a rebuilt one that I did, and it just hasn't been broke in yet, so it needs that. But let's get back to the seat stuff. So you're going to need some basic tools, like I said. This little cutter actually worked out quite well. I was pretty impressed. It cut the foam pretty dang nice. I mean, it's nice smooth cuts and everything. And we were able to cut out the areas where it was needed. And you'll need some Super 77 3M stuff, and then maybe a pair of pliers, a screwdriver, and I was using this putty knife to get down underneath some of the hooks on the seat, and of course a little spray paint just to kind of mark your areas when you push that foam down. You guys, if you want to tackle this, you can go for it yourself. Now you're probably going to end up doing a lot nicer job, and yeah, I am not an upholsterer. I'll say it again, I am not an upholsterer, but you know, I've done some leather seats and such. Hang on a second and I'll show you one of the leather seats, the tooling that I've done. Now this is one of the seats that I made, and it's a fairly heavy cowhide, and I built the seat pan and everything. But this is some of the tooling I did. It's an old Irish cross, and so I can do seats, but I'd prefer to do these. This is all hand stitched that I've done around there. Take some time, get a good movie, sit down with your needle and thread and stitch away. So that was one of the seats that I did, that leather hand stitched seat with some tooling. And I did this seat, and there's, you know, little wrinkles and stuff in there. I suppose if the material was a little warmer when I was stretching, it wouldn't have gotten that little bit of a crease in there. But this is what it is what it is. I sat on the seat. It's pretty darn comfortable, so it should be good for long trips. So if there's any comments or questions, you can put them in the comment section below or send them to my email at tmiyagi@hotmail.com. Now be kind to me, because like I said before, and I'm going to say it again, I'm not an upholsterer. So anyway, so if you've liked this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And this is Mr. Miyagi signing off and hoping to see you on the road. So, ciao.